Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Bloodlines and Black Magic core rulebook. If you haven't seen the other parts of this review, featuring this role-playing game of occult modern adventures, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about the rest of the Bloodlines. We start with the Infernal Bloodline. If you choose this bloodline for your character, you obtain a bonus to intelligence and a decent bonus to hit points. The Infernal Bloodline traces its lineages across all 7 continents and into the seats of power of many countries. While these strong political connections to power do not guarantee that infernal-blooded individuals will become power-seeking psychopaths, they often encourage it. For most onlookers, it doesn't matter. Individuals born with the infernal blood may not be born evil, but their lives will be filled with pain, temptation, and the constant desire to seek the highest seats of power in their respective organizations. Although they are not related to demons or devils, these humans do share connections to the darker, more devious among the legions of goetic spirits. When it comes to your aura, the bloodline has a large footprint in the invisible world, and it stinks of sulfur, ash, lies, and strategic betrayals that have left even the best actors bathed in auras of grey and black. Let's talk about some of the bloodline abilities. You have things such as the Charming Devil. You have always had a devilish swagger that suggested you could get a little more out of life, especially when you applied yourself. When you select this bloodline ability, you learn to turn up the charm when trying to talk others into seeing your side of things. At the lowest level, you learn the spell Charm Person, and intelligence is your spellcasting ability score for it. At the highest level, deception comes with greater ease as you continue to explore this powerful connection to your infernal blood. You gain advantage on deception skill checks you make against others. You also have Infernal Sight. You have always been able to see exceptionally well by the light of fire in the night, much to the chagrin of those who have embraced the darkness as a cloak in which to hide. At its lowest level, when you choose to strengthen your connection to the infernal, that connection begins to bleed over into the invisible world, although only around you. When you activate Pierce the Veil, you get a bonus to that check. Subsequently, you tend to see everything sheathed in the invisible flames that will consume them at the end of time. At its highest level, the power of your blood consumes the light around you. You gain the ability to see in total darkness up to a certain range. You no longer need an open flame to use this power. You also have Hell's Kitchen. You barely notice the heat everyone else complains about, especially when you are focused on something. When you select this bloodline ability, you gain resistance to fire damage. At the lowest level, when you strengthen this connection, you gain advantage on saving throws against spells that deal fire damage. If you catch fire from a spell or effect, you may spend a reaction on your turn to extinguish that fire. Likewise, you can put out a fire to a certain extent as a move action. At the highest level, you gain immunity to fire damage. Then we have the Jinn bloodline. You get a bonus to Constitution, and you have a decent bonus to hit points. While most of the Jinn bloodline lineages trace their origins back to the Fertile Crescent, the bloodline itself has long since left the present-day desert for greener valleys around the globe. Jinn-blooded humans are natural trendsetters and gravitate towards travel whenever possible, so these migratory patterns suit them. Though their bloodline name might suggest a specific culture and identity, this ancient bloodline has circled the globe millions of times, collectively spreading to every town, village, and city around the world. When it comes to your aura, the Jinn-blooded manifest auras that shine with the brilliance of the sun, sand, and heat of their various homelands. Their auras are always just a little brighter than those around them. When a Jinn-blooded character activates Pierce the Veil, their eyes appear to be filled with fire. Jinn-blooded humans have regal auras that radiate orange, yellow, and gold. This aura is sometimes accompanied by an array of aromas, spices, and perfumes. When it comes to your abilities, you have things such as Al-Javer's Alacrity. Jinn-blooded heroes are often lean, healthy, and fast. When you select this bloodline ability, your speed increases 10 feet. This bloodline ability has 3 levels of attunement. At the lowest level, you have proficiency in dexterity saving throws. At the highest level, your speed increases even more. You also have Endurance of the Efreeti. Jinn-blooded characters have a legacy of enduring what lesser mortals cannot. You have inherited that strength. You have proficiency in the survival skill. At the lowest level, you select a single terrain type. When you are in this terrain, you gain advantage on survival skill checks to forage, avoid hazards, and to avoid taking damage from excessive heat or cold. At the highest level, your constitution score improves by 1. However, you may not increase your constitution score above 21 using this ability. You also have Ghoul Bane. The various Jinn-blooded lines have long battled the ghouls who wander the deserts, spreading death and disease as they do. This ancient compulsion continues in you, your blood singing tales of destruction and freedom. When you select this bloodline ability, you gain a bonus to attack rolls to hit ghouls and other corporeal undead creatures. At the lowest level, you instead add your class die as a bonus to attack rolls against ghouls and corporeal undead. At the highest level, when you invest your third attunement slot into this bloodline ability, you learn to affect incorporeal undead and spirits as well. You add your class die as a bonus to attack rolls against ghosts, spirits, and other incorporeal undead. If you successfully hit one of these undead creatures, you deal additional radiant damage. Then we have the Seraphic bloodline. The Seraphic bloodlines wear the Archon's radiance like a golden cloak dipped in blood, as a reminder of their divine right to rule. Over the long march of time, most of the lineages bearing traces of the Archon's blood settled in two primary places, Western Europe and Russia. In the 15th and 16th centuries, many Seraphic-blooded lineages added America, the continent, to the lists. When it comes to your aura, Seraphic-blooded heroes have bright yellow and golden auras, although the intensity of those colors shifts with their alignment. An evil Seraphic-blooded hero might have a dark canary-colored aura, while a chaotic but good hero might have a bright electric aura. Regardless of their alignment, every Seraphic-blooded character has a shadowy connection to the Archons. Let's talk about some of their abilities. You have the Archon's Ancestry. Seraphic-blooded heroes have, since the first spirits of light and fire descended to Earth, answered the call to share their minds and hearts with these beings, birthing entire lines of oracles and cementing the Archon's power deeply into this world. That loyalty has left you with power. When you select this bloodline ability, you learn the cantrip Light, and Wisdom is the spellcasting ability score for it. At the lowest level, you learn the spell Ray of Light, and Wisdom is your spellcasting ability score for it as well. At the highest level, you learn to channel your access to the light into a single powerful attack, a column of radiant fire that deals impressive damage. There's also Harbinger's Shield. Throughout history, members of the various Seraphic lineages have all heard the choir's call, taking up their flaming swords and shields of cold iron in defense of the realm. Although the lines have blurred for many Seraphic-blooded heroes, there are still those that hear that clarion call of the choirs, each calling for conquest, war, and dominance. When you select this bloodline ability, you gain resistance to necrotic damage. At its lowest level, your ability to resist the darkness increases. You gain advantage on saving throws to resist necrotic damage. At the highest level, you gain a mantle against necrotic damage that extends to those creatures created by necromancy as well. You gain resistance against attacks by undead creatures. You also have Healer's Hands. Seraphic-blooded heroes who nurture their connection to the Archons often discover miraculous powers at their disposal, allowing them to heal and help in ways they never could before. You gain proficiency in the medicine skill. At its lowest level, you learn the spell Cure Wounds, and Wisdom is your spellcasting ability score for it. At the highest level, you learn to channel your years of knowledge and experience into each spell you cast, healing far more than others around you. Whenever you cast a spell that heals damage, you add either your intelligence score modifier or your wisdom modifier, whichever is higher, as a bonus to any hit points you restore with your spell. Next we have the Shadow Bloodline. This bloodline gets a bonus to strength and a really good bonus to hit points. The Shadow Bloodline lineages are older than many realize, twisting back into the shadows of time itself. They are the echoes of creation and carry the weight of such shadows, able to understand and interact with the black agents of the night side of the great tree of life. These lineages command shadowy things beckon from voids that no sane bloodline would care to embrace. Dark and brooding in their daily mannerisms by default, most people who come to learn the truth about the shadows in their blood suddenly understand why their lives have for so long remained cloaked in darkness. Concerning your aura, shadow-blooded characters have darker auras that range in color from deep purples and blues to rich crimsons. Regardless of the color of their auras, these heroes always have auras that reach out to nearby shadows, animating them and interacting with them in a strange, wholly unnatural way. Shadow-blooded heroes appear to have little control over this. When it comes to some of your abilities, you have City's secret shadows. Civilization, for all its bright lights and opportunity, has always called out to the darkness. You have no problem hearing that call. When you select this bloodline ability, you learn to use the city's shadows to your advantage, gaining a bonus to armor class, provided you are fighting in an urban environment with shadows and darkness. At the lowest level, your connection to the shadows strengthens again. When you are in an urban environment at night, or when covered by shadows, you gain advantage on stealth skill checks. At the highest level, you learn the spell Shadow Armor, and intelligence is your spellcasting ability score for it. You also have Knight's Secret Magic. The shadow-blooded lines have sought magic in every corner of the earth, finding a great deal of it hidden between the stars. Celebrating the power of the void, these individuals manifest this outer power in their blood. When you select this bloodline ability, you learn the cantrip Guidance, and Charisma is your spellcasting ability score for it. At the lowest level, you learn the spell False Life, and you use Charisma as your spellcasting ability score. At the highest level, you learn the spell Death Ward, and Charisma is your spellcasting ability score for it as well. You also have Shadow City Regular. Like others of your blood, you long ago learned to manipulate the shadows, turning them into doors and hallways between forgotten places. Learning to find those doorways means learning the streets they are hidden on, and because of that you are quite streetwise. At the lowest level, you learn the spell Vanish, using Charisma for it as well. At the highest level, you learn the spell See Invisibility with Charisma as its base too. And this concludes this part of the review. As you can see, these bloodlines, like the others, are quite thematic, and you can think of some interesting class and bloodlines combinations, more specialized on particular tasks. So for example, when it comes to the Infernal bloodline, you want them to serve as manipulators in acts of diplomacy or deceit rather, but they also have some combat potential, some resistances. When it comes to the Seraphic bloodline, they are also great leaders, diplomats, and they are great warriors. They almost seem like two sides of the same coin, almost. When it comes to the Jinn bloodline, they are excellent scouts and travelers. And when it comes to the Shadow bloodline, well, these are excellent assassins and spies, because of their manipulation of the shadows and darkness around them. But still, I only gave you a small sample of their abilities. There are many more things that each of the bloodlines can do, and you do not feel constrained or limited to a particular set of tasks. You are able to carry out all sorts of maneuvers and operations, as long as you use your abilities in clever ways. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. In the next part, we are going to talk about some universal abilities, and we will talk about character classes as well. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.